Hey, welcome to Self Talk. I'm your host, Dr. Ray Self. Today's show is interesting. It's different. Today's show is about the military, but I'm taking a different angle. This is about military spouses. You know, we honor our military men and women, and we should always do that and thank them for their service. But do we understand and honor their spouses, which sacrifice tremendously for their husbands and wives to do what they do? And there's a lot of challenges being a military spouse, and a lot of people couldn't do it. So I'm interviewing Melissa Caldie, my daughter-in-law, who actually works for us, but has been a military spouse for 10 years with incredible stories of the challenges and the blessings. And this ends up with a true miracle healing. So stay tuned. This is Self Talk with Dr. Ray Self. Thank you for being a part of today's show. Don't forget to share and tell your friends. Hey, and welcome to Self Talk. I'm your host, me, Dr. Ray Self. Thank you so much for being with us today and downloading the show. Hey, don't forget to share it with your friends. That really helps us a lot. The more you share it, and the more also write a review. That helps us get this message out. But today I'm excited. I have a very special guest in my enormous professional studio here. I have my daughter-in-law, Melissa Caldie. Hey, Melissa.
Hello.
Now, Melissa to me is a very, very special person. I mean, I love her as family, but let me just introduce Melissa, because the topic today is about military spouse, about being the spouse of someone in the military. And there's incredible challenges and blessings to that, okay, in your life. And what you do, to me, is just, I'm just blown away by it. And I just think that people are going to be blessed and maybe encouraged to hear what all you do and can do and been through. Amen?
Yeah.
So Melissa is married to our son, Brian Caldie. And this is Melissa Caldie, and we love her very much. She also works for ICM, International College of Ministry. She is the editor of this podcast. So no matter whatever I say, if I get, really bad or off color or my jokes are really bad, she's going to cut it out anyway. So
I have that power.
She has the power, folks. So today I was going to talk about military wives gone wild. But she said, being that this is sort of like a Christian podcast, that maybe that's not the best idea.
Yeah, probably not.
And then we thought about confessions of a military wife. And you said, yeah, that's probably not the right.
I don't have a whole lot of confession.
No confessions? Well, what I wanted to talk about today was, we honor people working in the military, serving in the military. We're always honoring our servicemen and women. And, you see them in the store, you see them at the airport. It's not unusual for somebody to walk up and go, thank you for your service. Mm-hmm. And I do it a lot. Mm-hmm. I might be sitting on an airplane next to somebody in the military. I will say, thank you for your service. But I know you've been through a lot as a military spouse. And it's amazing the sacrifices that you have to make, you've had to make, for your husband. And the incredible challenges and blessings of being, a spouse in the military. And I don't want to just say that that's what you are. You're just a spouse. You are Melissa Caldie, child of God, who's incredibly gifted. Okay? So anyway, you marry Brian. And how long have you guys been married? I forgot.
Almost 10 years.
And you have 2 children.
2 kids, yeah.
Jackson and
Adeline.
Adeline, they're with us now, actually.
Yeah, very quiet.
Which is really a miracle. So, Charisma likes to talk about miracles. We have a miracle because the kids are like right in the room next to us.
Yep, we can't hear them.
And we can't hear them. Yeah. It's a miracle. So, you're from Kissimmee. Were you born and raised in Kissimmee, Florida?
I was born in New York, and we moved to Kissimmee when I was about 5. So, basically lived there my whole life. So, we were, as a family, we were very excited when you met Brian. And Brian met you, and he introduced you to us. And me, I'm a little bit prophetic. It was like the moment I met you, I kind of think, oh, finally. Well, thank you.
I mean, it's not that Brian was not
Mm.
dating some really nice girls, but as a dad, you go, no, Brian, 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 that's not the one. That's not the one. And then all of a sudden you come along and I'm thinking, okay.
I made the cut.
Yeah, way above the cut. So Brian decides to go in the Air Force. Mm-hmm. And so here you are, you're in Kissimmee, Florida. So what happens? Now here you are, a spouse. Now, listen, folks, I want to tell you something. I think what Melissa has had to do and the way her life, what she's had to live, is pretty amazing. And I don't know if a lot of people have the grace to do it. Mm-hmm. So you meet Brian. So what's the first, and you get married. Mm-hmm. And so what's the first challenges that hit you?
Well, he joined before we got married. Okay. And I guess boot camp, and he had a long training school before his first duty station. So I think the challenge of a long distance relationship for in total probably about a year.
So you met and you were married before he went in, or right after
he joined first, and then we got married after boot camp. In the middle of his training, we got married.
And folks, I should know these things.
It was a while ago. It's fine. It was a long time ago.
But you were separate. So you get married. He joined the military. Mm-hmm. I know he did basic in San Antonio.
In San Antonio for about 8 weeks or so.
And you were separate. Mm-hmm. Now you were married. Were you married when he was in basic? You got married shortly after basic, right?
Maybe like 4 months after.
Okay. And then he's in training. Mm-hmm. Now, did you say you lived apart for how long?
In total, including boot camp and the training, probably about a year.
You lived apart for a year. Mm-hmm. You're newlyweds, and you live apart for a year. Mm-hmm. Okay, listeners, this is one of the points I wanted to make. I think that we need to thank the military spouses for their service, because the sacrifice that you had to make in order for Brian to serve our country is, incredible. Mm. So then, all right, so you're separated for about a year, and because he goes to boot camp, then he has to go through training. He's in the Air Force, by the way, and then you get your first assignment. Mm-hmm. And where is that? Tell us about that.
Our first assignment was to Hawaii, Oahu, which didn't complain about that.
So you go from Kissimmee, Florida. You're apart for almost a year, and then you're with Brian in Hawaii. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, he moved out there a few months before I did, because I I graduated college, and then right after I graduated, I moved out to Hawaii. So we were there for about 4 years.
And that, to me, I know that just sounds amazing and beautiful and wonderful, but still, you're away from your parents.
Yes.
You're away from your friends. Mm-hmm. You're away from your home. You're far away from everybody you know, everything you grew up with. That, to me, that just could not be that easy.
Yeah. No, it definitely made it hard. Hawaii was almost as far as you can get from Florida.
Right.
So just being so far away and having our first baby in Hawaii, that was challenging, being a new parent, a new mom, and your support is more limited in the military. Fortunately, we've met a lot of very great and amazing people that have become great friends, and you kind of build your own support system, but it's a little different when you start having kids and you don't have your family close by, and so that was definitely a challenge, having our first kid, and we were in Hawaii and so far away and nowhere near family, and so that was...
you're newlyweds, you're apart for almost a year, and then you're together, but you are halfway around the world, practically, from everything you've ever known.
Right.
And you have a child.
Yeah. After 3 years, we had him. After 3 years of being in Hawaii, then Jackson came around.
Yeah, 3 years of being in Hawaii.
Yeah.
And to me, I've often said in this podcast that we talk about God's purpose and God's call, and also God's grace. Apparently God gave you the grace to do this, but I bet you a lot of my female listeners listening here would say, there's no way I could get married, be separate from my husband for a year, and then move halfway around the world practically to another place and leave everything that I've known behind. And that's just not easy. But you just did it. It's like you just flowed right into it.
Yeah. I feel like I've always been interested in travel, and I mean, one way to do it is being in the military. We've gone to Hawaii. We've been able to travel from there, and I think both of us, Brian and I, enjoy living in different areas and kind of learning where we like, what we don't like. So.
And didn't you take a vacation to New Zealand?
Yep.
From Hawaii?
Yeah, when Jackson was not even a year old.
That's so incredible.
Yep, we've done a lot of traveling.
That's so amazing. Again, it's just, I mean, it sounds exciting, but also it sounds like a huge challenge. You're in in Hawaii, of course, is a completely different culture.
Yes.
And a different way of living.
Yes.
And everything. But in the midst of all this, you're not just, I'm a full-time wife. You're doing other things.
I try to.
I mean, you've got businesses, and tell us a little bit about what you do.
My main business now is a cookie business. I do decorated sugar cookies with one of my friends, Haley, rooted in sugar.
It's organic, though, I'm sure.
Oh, yeah.
Okay,
that sugar is...
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, very.
It's probably brown sugar, not white sugar. Which makes it okay.
Yeah.
Okay, got it.
Slightly healthier.
Right.
And then I work, like Dr. Ray said, with ICM. I've been editing the podcast for been doing this 3 years now.
3 years, yeah. You did social media for us, too.
Yep.
So this cookie business, folks, this is just not somebody makes cookies. These are beautiful cookies made for special events, for weddings and graduations and corporate events. And every cookie is like designer decorated, beautiful cookies. I've seen them. They're gorgeous.
Yeah. Thank you.
And then now you also wanted to pursue education. So here you are, other side of the world, and you got your cookie business, you're editing podcasts. You also were doing some graphics work. You were doing graphics for
social media. Yeah.
You did social media graphics, but you were also doing T-shirts and
yeah.
Yeah. You did T-shirts and caps and all kinds of stuff like that. Okay, and then is this about the time you? Maybe later on when you start studying to be a dental hygienist, or is that later?
That's my, it was probably about 2 years ago where I really got into it and started going back to school for dental hygiene. That's the goal.
Did you do that in Hawaii, go to school for it?
No, in Wyoming. Wow. Now, yeah, just about a year ago.
So this to me is where it gets really interesting. So you're in Hawaii for 4 years and you buy a home.
Yes,
in Hawaii, which is pretty amazing.
Yes.
That on a military salary, you buy a home which quickly rose in value. A really nice home in Hawaii on a VA loan, but whatever. It's a great investment. So then you get called back to the States, right? And you get stationed in
Florida, Panhandle, Navarre area.
Yeah, Navarre, folks. If you're familiar with Pensacola and Panama City, it's about halfway between, or between Pensacola and Destin, Florida, is Navarre.
Right in the middle.
And there's a Air Force base called Hurlburt Field, I believe.
Hurlburt, yep.
Hurlburt Field.
Yeah.
I never can get that out.
Hurlburt.
Hurlburt Field. Okay. So you go from Kissimmee, Florida, all the way to Hawaii, halfway across the world. Then all of a sudden you're back in your home state, but not quite.
Yeah.
You're still
about 7 hours away.
7 hours
Drive.
away. And there you buy another home. You sell your home in Hawaii, you buy another home. To me, this is all just amazing. and Brian is doing an incredible job in the Air Force. We're very, very proud of him right now. I think he's been 10 years.
Almost, yeah.
Almost 10 years.
Yep.
We're so extremely proud of him. But again, what I'm trying to get across to the listeners here is the challenges and the sacrifice that Melissa made, as a wife and as a mom, and leaving everything that she knew and going halfway across the world and then coming back to Florida, still 7 hours away from your mother and your father and the friends you grew up with. And so how long were you lived at Navarre?
We lived there about a year and a half. Not very long.
Not very long. So year and a half, thinks everything's going great. Then all of a sudden you get the call and you're called to go where?
Cheyenne, Wyoming.
Cheyenne, Wyoming.
Did not even know that existed.
At the time I heard of it, I thought, well, so much for the tropical lifestyle. You're raised in Florida.
Yep.
You're to Hawaii. You come back to Florida. All you've known is beach and Florida and humidity and palm trees and alligators and dolphins and all the Florida stuff. And then Cheyenne?
Yep.
Wyoming?
Yeah. Yeah, that was a bit of a shock.
And so you transfer to Cheyenne.
Yep.
To a base, and all of a sudden you got a whole another culture you're living in. Mm-hmm. And that's got to be a challenge. Mm-hmm. And then you live on base in Cheyenne, right? And tell us about living in Cheyenne. You have is that when Addie was born, or was she born in Navarre?
She was born in Navarre, yeah. But she was 3 months old when we moved to Wyoming. So she basically from Wyoming. We just say she's from there.
Okay.
But the biggest challenge I feel was the weather. Yeah. We went from sunny, warm, humid weather to...
Which is what you've known your whole life.
Yes.
Your whole life.
Yeah, I had never really seen snow until we moved to Wyoming. I was, 29 when we moved there, so...
Never seen snow.
I'd never seen snow, yeah. And just the challenge of the cold, the snow, 2 little kids, the wind. The wind in Wyoming is intense. We get 85 mile per hour gusts of wind on a regular basis. So,
the folks, if you don't realize that's hurricane strength wind on a regular basis. So much so that you cannot even go outside.
No.
I mean, you can't let your kids outside.
No.
The kids would literally blow away.
Yeah, I've had to hold on to Adeline, the littlest one, before she blew over sometimes, and that mixed with 20-degree weather is challenging.
As a matter of fact, just before you came back to visit, right now we're visiting in Winter Park, Florida. I think it was just a couple of weeks ago. I was looking at the temperature in Wyoming. It got down to negative 15 degrees. Yeah. And it was negative 15 degrees. Now, and then I looked at the temperature in Winter Park, Florida, was 86. Oof. And there was over a 100-degree difference in the temperature.
Yeah, it's a big difference. Yeah, I don't love the wind in Wyoming. That could if that could just go away, then I can handle the cold. But it's the wind that makes it a challenge.
And while you're in Wyoming, of course, you're still doing your... Now, this is when you start studying to be a dental hygienist, right? And you start working.
I worked as a dental assistant for a little bit, yeah. Just to kind of get a feel for the environment, the job, and see if I actually liked that field. And I enjoy it a lot. So the goal is to become a hygienist. Yeah. Eventually.
And you see, with me, the way I look at life, I'm kind of a big picture guy, and I'm looking at big picture. Wait a second, how does a young woman get from Kissimmee, Florida, which is just south of Orlando, folks, from Kissimmee, Florida? How does a young woman, get engaged, get married, and live apart from her husband, and then leave everything she's known to move halfway across the world, and have a child, buy a home, and then move back halfway across the world, have another child, and then get called to move halfway across, 3/4, 90% across the way of the United States to Wyoming. And in the middle of all that, you're running a business, you are a mother, you're working on our podcast, you're doing social media, you're doing some graphics with t-shirts and you're very crafty. You do a lot of craft. You have this designer cookie business, and you're studying to be a dental hygienist. Is there anything you do in your spare time?
Sleep.
Yeah, sleep.
Maybe, not even.
And so, I just say we need to thank military spouses for their service. I think you have the grace for it and done an incredible job with it, but I would bet you there's a lot of spouses out there that struggle. with the constant moving and stuff.
Yeah. It's definitely a challenge. I mean, it's something that if you desire a full-time career, that's something you have to take into consideration, because you have to move every four or so years. You can't stay in one place typically. So just a career itself is kind of a sacrifice that you have to consider if your spouse is or thinking of joining the military.
So if you have a vision as a spouse for a full-time career, any military spouse, that's going to be very difficult because of the constant moving.
Yeah. I mean, I know plenty that do it. It's just typically once you get your job and, you're there for a couple years, then you find out you have to move again, and then you have to kind of start all over. You kind of have to start over every 4 years or so.
See, what amazes me about you is you do all this with a smile on your face. Mm-hmm. You kind of enjoy it. And I'm thinking, if I was in your position, there's no way. There's no way I could do it. And I think there's a lot of people that just no way they could do it. But what I see is just a lot of, you've really sacrificed for our son. You've sacrificed for your children. Mm-hmm. And you have sacrificed just like our son is sacrificing and serving for our country. You also are sacrificing for our country. Mm. And so I'm saying that we should say, hey, thank you for your service, Melissa. Because, I don't think Brian could have done this without you. Mm. I mean, maybe he could have. If he did it, he would have been unhappy doing it.
Yeah. I mean, it's challenging, but it's also fun. One of the pros of being a military family and traveling all over the country is that you meet a lot of really amazing people, and you build friendships and relationships with those people that you take with you everywhere you go. So that's a huge benefit to me. I enjoy having really good friendships with people, and then you get to have friends all over the world, really, and keep in touch that way, and just being able to meet different people and enjoy different cultures and all of that is a really cool experience.
You said something that really tickled me about making friends. Mm-hmm. What was it you were telling me about when you see a potential friend? You said you go for it, right?
Yeah.
It's like
you have no time as a military family to wonder, should I talk to that person? I feel like we would get along. You just kind of have to go and be like, hey, I see you have a kid. I have a kid. Let's be friends.
Yeah, so you're an aggressive friend seeker.
You have to be, yeah, sometimes. I don't think I would have met any of my friends if I wasn't.
Yeah. I never thought about that, but in the military, when you wouldn't have the opportunity, you make friends. Mm-hmm. And it's not like, down here, I'm in Florida, there's 2 million people in this area. Mm-hmm. It's like you're trying to maybe get rid of some friends. Or acquaintances, or whatever. Yeah. No,
couple of my really good friends that I have now in Wyoming, we just met in this play area on base, and we had kids around the same age, and the kids started playing together, so we just were talking and exchanged phone numbers, and we've been friends for 4 years.
So what about during this whole process about parenting? Was it more difficult, you think, being a parent, living in 3 different homes? I think, what was it? At one time, Jackson had a birthday in 3 different cities, in 3 different years.
Yep. Every year, his birthday was in a different state.
His birthday was in a different state every year. So, as a mother and as a parent, and with the kids, is that a special challenge, or is it okay?
Right now, so Jackson's 6, Addie will be 4 in a couple months, and I think when they're younger, it's okay because they're little. They adapt really easily, right. And they don't really notice when when things are changing a whole lot. So right now, it hasn't been a huge challenge, but I feel like as they get older and they're in middle school, they're in high school, they're building their friendships, they're really building their core groups, right. That might become more of a challenge for us as if we have to move like in the middle of the school year or as they get older. So we haven't quite encountered those challenges yet, but I do feel like I could see it being a challenge. And I've talked to a few older kids that, you know, their parents moved around a lot and they were, you know, in middle and high school at the time. And some of them really enjoy it. Some of them love the fact that they get to move around a lot and meet new people all the time. And some people just really wish they could stay put and build their, you know, their friendships and everything more in just one spot. But I think it could be personality wise. Hopefully our kids have the personality to where they're okay with moving around. But yeah, it's one of those where you kind of have to wait and see how they're going to react to it as they get older. And maybe because they're so young right now, they'll kind of be used to it by that time. So, yeah, I don't know. One of those wait and see kind of things for us, because we haven't quite gotten to that stage yet.
Well, speaking of kids, I maybe before we close the show, to me, there's a miracle. There's a God miracle with Addie. Mm-hmm. I mean, tell us a little bit about Addie. Adeline, that's the youngest daughter. How old's Addie? She's 4.
3. She'll be 4 in 2 months.
I wanted to call her 4. She's 3.
She's pretty much 4.
Yeah, pretty much 4. But there was a real amazing, scary, praise God, but scary thing going. Tell us about what happened with Addie and maybe the miracle of Addie.
Well, when Addie was about 2 months old, her pediatrician detected a heart murmur and sent us to a cardiologist to get testing done. And we found out she had a large hole in her heart, a VSD, ventricular septal defect. And we were told that she might need open heart surgery down the road. And she was put on a couple different medications to help.
So she's 2 years old, and the doctor's saying...
2 months old.
2 months old?
Yeah.
And he's already talking about open heart surgery.
Yep. They just were saying it's a potential because of how large the hole was. When I got that news, Brian was in training. He wasn't even home when I took her to the cardiologist to find this out. So I have a 2-year-old, a 2-month-old, and finding out that she has a hole in her heart, and she might possibly need open heart surgery down the road, and trying to navigate how to help her health-wise and, you know, what's going to happen. And we were in Florida at the time when we found out, and about a month later we moved to Wyoming. So that was the start of her health journey.
So in Wyoming, things, I know as a family, we were hoping the heart was going to heal on its own. We prayed and prayed and prayed for the heart to heal, which the doctor said was possible. And we're thinking, okay, with God, it's definitely possible. But it didn't exactly happen that way. No.
It started to close on its own a little bit. The elevation in Cheyenne is about 7,000 feet of elevation. So somehow the elevation helped her specific condition, and her heart did start to heal itself a little bit. But after about 6 months, after they noticed the healing, they saw that it wasn't changing much. It was still a pretty large hole, and that's when they officially said, we need to do surgery.
So you take her to Denver, right, for surgery?
The Children's Hospital in Denver, yeah.
So she ends up having open heart surgery in Denver.
Open heart surgery, 2 years old.
But there were some kind of miracles that were taking place during the open heart surgery, especially, was it in the recovery process, how fast she recovered? And, there was some, it was very dramatic. I mean, I can't even imagine, we were, praying from a distance, but you're right there with your daughter in the hospital, open heart surgery. And how old is she when the surgery took place? 2. 2 years old, having open heart surgery, which is just, parents just shouldn't have to go through that.
Yeah, it was rough. Not the most enjoyable experience, but she, after about a day of surgery, she was ready to go, ready to run and get out of bed, and she's still connected to machines, and she still has like a drainage tube and all of these things, and she was acting like it didn't even affect her.
That to me was the coolest part. To me, that's the miracle.
Yeah.
One day after surgery,
yeah,
she's acting like a normal little girl.
Acting totally
after
normal.
open heart surgery.
Yeah, she just wanted to get up and move, and the nurses were trying to keep her down and saying, "Hey, you're still connected to things. You gotta relax a little bit." And fortunately, she recovered really quickly, and so far everything looks good. She still has to see a cardiologist once a year just to kind of monitor and make sure that the surgery went well and that the repair still looks good. So it's a patch over the hole that is supposed to grow with her and grow into the muscle as she gets older. So as long as it, grows the same way, no leaking happens, then she should be good to go and do whatever she wants for the rest of her life. So,
well, to me, there's a couple of praise reports there. I know that the Bible says all things work for good for those who love the Lord and called according to his purposes. Mm-hmm. So here you have your daughter with a hole in her heart. Mm-hmm. You're in Cheyenne, Wyoming, far away from Florida. Florida's got great medical facilities. It's very famous for that. But it turns out here you are in Cheyenne and the altitude's hurting Addie, but Denver has one of the best children's hospitals in the world.
Yes. It was, I believe...
Which Denver, by the folks, is within 2 hours of Cheyenne.
Yes, yeah. It's about 2 hours away. I believe at the time, the Children's Hospital in Denver was ranked 10 in the nation, but 6 for cardiology in the nation. Yeah. So I think between the area we were in Florida, North Florida, and where we ended up for surgery, I think we were in the best location for her.
And so you could see God's hand in that. Mm-hmm. It's like God would send you all the way to Cheyenne to get to this hospital, to Denver, for that particular surgeon maybe. Mm-hmm. And the surgery is so successful that within one day, she's ready to play. Mm-hmm. It's incredible. Mm-hmm. I don't know.
Yeah.
I think the drama of it, you going through that was, I can't even imagine.
Yeah. Yeah.
The emotions you felt. Mm-hmm. I know that was hard, but I just look at Addie now and you just see just one little faint scar.
Yeah, she does have her scar, and she knows it. She knows what it is. She knows what they did. She said they had to cut my chest open and fix my heart, and so she knows, to an extent that a 2-3-year-old knows, but the hope and prayer now is, as she continues to grow and get older, that the repair maintains itself and we won't need to do any intervention as she gets older. They're hopeful, and she had very positive feedback from her last checkup. So in May will be her 1 year checkup. So we'll go in and hopefully it all still looks the same, and then we get to wait another year.
Well, guys listening, y'all pray for Addie Caldie. Okay, you pray that her heart will completely heal. The hole will the muscle will cover the hole, correct? Mm-hmm.
So the hole is covered. It's covered with a patch. It's just hopefully the patch will grow with her as she grows. Okay. Yeah.
Okay. That's a prayer request, folks. Mm-hmm. Put that out for you. So anyway, I just think that's an incredible, miraculous story. And even though here you go from Kissimmee, Florida, to Hawaii, to Navarre, Florida, to Cheyenne, which so happens to be right next to one of the best children's hospitals for surgery in the nation. I mean, maybe God knew what he was doing. Mm-hmm. And anyway, you're amazing. I really, we love you so much, as our family. We thank you. Folks, thank you for listening today. And, this is Self-Talk with Dr. Ray Self, and my very special guest is our beautiful daughter-in-law, Melissa Caldie. So thanks for being with us.
Thank you.
Okay. Yeah. Goodbye, everybody. Thanks again for listening to Self-Talk with Dr. Ray Self. I got a couple requests for you. First off, thank you. Thank you so much. If you have any ideas for the show, something you would like me to talk about, give me some ideas. Email me with your idea at drrayself@gmail.com, drrayself@gmail.com. Don't forget to check out our website for the podcast where you can hear every single episode. You can also follow me, which helps a lot, and give me a review. That also helps a lot. And go to icmcollege.org/self-talk, icmcollege.org/self-talk. If you would like to donate, and that would really help us continue this work, go to icmcollege.org/donate. I appreciate you so much. Oh, don't forget our store. We have a really cool store. We've got t-shirts, caps, mugs. Also, you can get my books, my 2 books. You can purchase my books on the store. Thank you so much for listening. This is Dr. Ray Self with Self Talk.